considerable, considerable, considerable. Hello. Let's talk about the word considerable. As a language teacher, I'd be happy to break it down for you. So, considerable is an adjective, which means it modifies or describes a noun or pronoun. In common usage, it means something that is noticeable, significant, or substantial. Think of it as a step above average in size, importance, or quality. For example, if someone says their vacation house is considerable, you can infer that it's quite large and impressive. Another important note about considerable is that it often implies a degree of respect or admiration for the person or thing being described, so use it thoughtfully to convey that you think something, or someone, is truly noteworthy. Also, keep in mind that this word has a slightly formal tone, which means it's more likely to be used in written English or in professional settings, rather than casual conversations with friends. Does that make sense? Let's take a look at 3 practical examples of using the word considerable in different contexts. In a formal setting, such as a job interview or a written recommendation, you might say, her research contributions have been considerable, making her a valuable asset to our team. Here, considerable means noteworthy or impressive, and is used to convey respect for someone's work. In a casual conversation with friends, like at a dinner party or on a weekend getaway, you could say, I had a considerable hangover after last night's wine tasting tour, but it was totally worth it. In this example, considerable means quite large or serious, and is used to add humor or emphasis to the situation. In an academic or business setting, such as a meeting or a research paper, you might use considerable data suggests that our new marketing strategy has been successful, resulting in increased sales figures. Here, considerable means significant or substantial, and is used to emphasize the importance of the findings. So you want to know about something that means a lot of something else? Let me break it down for you. A considerable amount refers to a large but not necessarily huge quantity of something, like a big pile of books or a long list of things. It's often used when we're talking about numbers, sizes, or amounts, and we want to give an idea that it's quite impressive or substantial. For example, if someone has a considerable amount of money saved up, you know they have a lot, but not necessarily a huge fortune. Some other words that mean similar things are a large number, a big quantity, or quite a few. When we use this phrase, it's often to give an idea of how much something is, and it can help us understand the scale or magnitude of whatever we're talking about. Constant, constant, constant. The word constant is a fascinating adjective that can be used in various contexts. As a teacher, I'd like to explain it to you in detail. The part of speech for constant is an adjective, and its primary function is to describe nouns or pronouns that are unchanging or persistent over time. Common usage of this word includes describing things like the speed of light, which remains constant under all conditions, or a person's character traits, such as being a constant optimist. You'll often see constant used in scientific and mathematical contexts, where precise measurements and calculations require stable values. It's also worth noting that constant can sometimes be confused with its antonym, variable. So pay attention to the context and connotation when using this word. Overall, constant is a useful adjective for describing stability, persistence, or regularity in various aspects of life. Let's consider how to use the word constant in different contexts. In a formal setting, such as a research paper or lecture on astronomy, you might say, the Earth's rotation rate is a constant 24 hours per day, demonstrating its predictable and unchanging motion. Here, the context emphasizes scientific precision and reliability. In casual conversation with friends, someone might remark, "I've been feeling so exhausted lately, I'm just not used to having such a constant stream of visitors dropping by all the time." In this example, the word constant is used to convey a sense of overwhelming or unrelenting repetition. The context is social and anecdotal. In a business setting, like a sales pitch or presentation to investors, you might assert, "Our company's commitment to sustainability has been a constant throughout our history, guiding every decision we make." Here, the context highlights a core value and differentiator for the organization, emphasizing stability and dependability. The word constant, in this case, conveys a sense of consistency and unwavering dedication. Hey there, so you want to know about that thing that stays the same in some situations? Well, think of something that doesn't change, no matter what else is happening around it, like a reliable friend who's always there for you. That's basically what we're talking about. One main characteristic is that it's always the same. So if something happens tomorrow or next week, this thing will still be the same as it was today. Similar concepts might be unchanging or unwavering. And some people also use words like fixed or regular. In terms of what it does or how it's used, think about a rule that always applies. No matter who you are or where you go, that's kind of what this thing is like. Constrain. 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 So, let's talk about the word constrain. The part of speech for this word is a verb, which means it's an action word that tells us what someone or something is doing. In common usage, to constrain someone or something means to limit their freedom or ability to do something, often in a way that feels restrictive or unfair. For example, the weather forecast constrained the plans for our outdoor picnic here. The bad weather limited our options and made it difficult to have the picnic as planned. A special note about this word is that it can also imply a sense of limitation or restriction. That's not necessarily physical, but more emotional or psychological. So, even if we're talking about abstract concepts like freedom of speech or artistic expression, constrain can still be used to describe how something limits what we can do. In a job interview for a management position at a nonprofit organization, an applicant might say, "Our limited budget will constrain our ability to expand services this year. But we'll focus on improving efficiency in existing programs." This sentence uses constrain in a formal context to convey a sense of limitation and priority. In contrast, while chatting with friends at a coffee shop, someone might remark, "I know I want to travel around Europe next summer, but my parents will constrain me from going if I don't get good grades this semester." Here, the sentence uses constrain in a casual conversation to imply a restrictive influence. A researcher presenting findings on environmental policy might say, "Studies have shown that government regulations can actually harm local businesses by constraining their ability to adapt to changing market conditions," highlighting the need for more nuanced policy-making approaches. This sentence utilizes constrain in a business or academic context to convey a sense of limitation and potential negative impact. So you're trying to learn about this concept that helps us understand when something limits or restricts our choices, freedom, or actions. Think of it like having a big box where you can move around freely. But then someone puts up walls and doors that limit how far you can go. The main characteristic is that it's something external that stops us from doing what we want to do, or going in the direction we're heading. It's similar to ideas like obstacle, hindrance, or barrier, all of which refer to things that get in our way and stop us from achieving something. When you think about it, you might realize it's used a lot in everyday conversations when people talk about how rules, time limits, or even physical restrictions can affect their plans or goals.